Yo, what is going on? Welcome to the Stokastic Fantasy Football Channel. We are back talking running backs. It's Wednesday, it's week 3, and it's Nicky Locks, Nicky Football, Nick Lepri. You know the man well, at Notorious FNTSY on Twitter. I got a comment today that said, hey man, I like your stuff, I like your videos, but I really like Nick better. Let's just start off. Where can I find everything that you do? Because you have plenty of solo work still available. Where is it? I see it on the screen up top if you're seeing the banner.
That's actually kind of messed up that someone would comment that, to be honest with you.
But they tried to like qualify it like 18 different times. They're like, you're not bad, but like, look, it's Nick. All right.
Yeah, the people love me. But Notorious Fantasy by Stokastic on YouTube, just type that in. You'll find it. The wide receiver start sit video and the running back start sit video doing incredibly good. So make sure you guys check that out. That's all I got to say. What's up, Ron? Hope you're doing well, and hope you're doing well as well, Savoca, even though your heart might be hurt by that comment. Mine would be as well. If they said, you know what, this Nick guy sucks, it's Matt time, that would hurt my feelings. So it is what it is.
Can I be completely honest with you, Nick?
It's a fake comment.
It's a fake. It was actually just you and your burner.
It was my burner.
I'm not offended at all. I mean, come on. There's a lot of people doing fantasy football content out there. We want you to find the content that makes sense for you, right? We want the stuff that you agree with, you vibe with, and that's why we have your channel available. Yeah, Donnie Bravo. Nick is fire. So that's what we got. That's what we got available for you. I'm going to keep bringing my stuff because I love doing it. I love helping you guys out. But if you like Nick's stuff better, no skin off our back. Just go follow him over there. But why don't you stick around here? Let's talk some running backs. It's a very important position, last I heard, in fantasy football. Yeah. As your questions trickle on in, be an awesome time to get going here. And let's get going with this stream. Why don't we bring up tier 1? Because I think you've heard about some of these players. I think number 4 is the interesting one. We got Saquon up there in the top tier all of a sudden.
Yeah. Saquon had a decent game last week. It's almost shocking, and I'm just going to talk about 2 players at once, even though you didn't bring this player up.
That's okay.
It's almost shocking the usage of Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley in some of these games. Like last week, you would have thought that both of those running backs who were playing up against each other could potentially have been the number 1 and number 2 running back. And it seemed like early on in the game, the Giants just didn't want to give the ball to Barkley. He finished with more carries than he had in week 1, but he only finished as the RB 17.5 PPR. And then Christian McCaffrey, on the other hand, finished as the RB number 6 in that game. Miraculously, even though his usage wasn't very high, it's very confusing what's happening with Christian McCaffrey as well as Saquon Barkley.
So it looks like Matt Rule is galaxy braining it. That's honestly what it looks like to me. Like the guy is scared for his job, and so he's trying to do something different. Just get the ball to Christian McCaffrey. My God, like what do we?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
What's going on? Again, we're in the small sample trap for every single player in the NFL. I said this yesterday when we were talking quarterbacks and tight ends. We have a lot of football left, and we still have to hang on to some of the draft capital decisions that we thought about in August. But this looks like a situation where we just got to get Christian McCaffrey the ball. The matchup is absolutely fine this week. They're underdogs. They're playing New Orleans, but I'm not scared of New Orleans' rush defense like I was in the past. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I completely agree. The New Orleans defense is a little bit suspect compared to what I thought. It's very much like the Indianapolis Colts, where you're like, oh, look at this great defense, and then they get hung a million points by the Jaguars on top of them, right? So I think the New Orleans Saints are a pretty good team. I think Jameis Winston will bounce back after that game, but I think Christian McCaffrey could go to town up against the defense. But again, what you're saying is completely true. Matt Rule is like, this guy must just be an idiot. I saw a stat yesterday that I retweeted that was honestly shocking, and I'm going to pull it up right now and read it to you as I'm talking. I'm filling time, but it was absolutely crazy that this is a legitimate stat. Panthers under Matt Rule are 1-24 when allowing 17 plus points.
Get out of here.
1-24 when allowing 17 plus points. The guy's an idiot. Ron's a Panthers fan. He just said it. He must be shocked too. It's embarrassing.
At what cost? I got to pull this up just because the existential dread of it all. As a Panthers fan, you don't even know that half of it. Rule wants to lighten CMC's workload, but at what cost?
everything.
Everything.
It costs everything. Like, I don't know what they're doing. Like, it makes no sense. Like, I understand, oh, let's not give Christian McCaffrey 7,000 touches because maybe he'll get hurt. Okay. But when you're losing the game, just throw it to McCaffrey. Just give it to McCaffrey. I don't get the logic. Now, again, I'm not an NFL head coach, so what do I know? But if I was the head coach, I'd be like, you know what? Let's give it to DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey 7,000 times. That'd be my game plan.
No, I'm sick of appealing to the authority of these, these hard asses who don't even they have the talent right in front of them, but they remain hard-headed enough that they just don't do what is necessary to win football games because they think they're smarter than everyone else. Let's go to tier 2 before I just get worked up into a frenzy here. You're starting all these players if you got them. Dalvin Cook too, even though it wasn't fun the other night. He's got to get more touches, period. There will be better days for Minnesota, especially against a pretty bad Detroit Lions defense in week 3. I guess as we go to tier 2, Nick, we got to talk about Nick Chubb, running back 1 overall. As you called the most boring running back in fantasy football all summer long, is now running back 1.
Yeah, I've got him on 2 of my fantasy teams, so great work, Nick Chubb. I mean, I don't care. I'm fine with it. Again, I said I just don't think he will be a top 5 running back at the end of the season. I genuinely don't think that will be the case. So that's why I said he was boring. You play him. He's a good player. He goes to work. He lost the Browns the game. He literally lost the Browns the game. I said this in my video yesterday. It's awesome for fantasy. Like, you were so happy. Oh my God, look how good Chubb did. But he doesn't give a fuck. He cares about your fantasy team more than his real team because he should have just went down. Didn't he do that a couple of years ago? The opposite, where he ran out of bounds instead of going in, and people were mad at him. Or was that Todd Gurley who slid on the one? It was Todd Gurley.
Gurley had the one where he tried his very best to slow down and fall, and he ended up falling into the end zone.
Yeah, that's what it
was rough. But
yeah, but Nick Chubb's a good player, so obviously, I guess I shouldn't have been so angry at him all offseason. But again, I still just don't believe that he's going to be a top 5 running back. Could be wrong, though. I hope I'm wrong because I got him on my teams.
Yeah, let's talk about Derrick Henry for a minute. Not great. Not great to start off the season. We got him running back 19 in expected fantasy points per game around players like Michael Carter, David Montgomery, Josh Jacobs. That's the worst case scenario, right? Derrick Henry is a volume running back with low efficiency on a mediocre team. That is in the range of outcomes officially this year. That's no good. And he's not getting the breakaway runs like we're used to seeing, which he creates himself. How do you feel about Derrick Henry going forward? I mentioned him as a start him as a running back 2 in an upcoming video here on the Stokastic Fantasy Football channel. I'm not benching him yet.
Yeah, there's no way you can bench him. Look, the Titans looked awful against Buffalo, but it could just be the fact that the Titans are okay and the Buffalo Bills are just the best team in the world, right? The Buffalo Bills just Cleveland steamered the Rams. They destroyed the Titans so much that Malik Willis has to come into the game, and they benched Derrick Henry. Now, again, I don't know based on what I have seen. I don't think Derrick Henry looks the same as the past. He doesn't pass the eye test to me, but there's also just a chance that, again, that matchup up against Buffalo was just not going to go their way. And up against the Raiders just choked away a humongous lead to the Cardinals. The run defense doesn't look the best. I think Derrick Henry gets it done this week, but I'm not excited for him to be a top 10 guy, personally.
I don't have him in the top 10. I have him in the top 24, of course.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't have him in the top 10. I think that the Stokastic projections, again, these are based on the Stokastic projections. They're factoring in the historical efficiency of Derrick Henry, which I completely understand. I can't be sure about it. Joe Mixon is one where I feel a little bit different, though. Right now, Joe Mixon is number 1 in the NFL, at least among running backs, in expected fantasy points per game. The opportunity value is there, despite him being so-so in terms of actual production.
Yeah, and the fact that the Bengals just don't look good now. I have talked about this before. It's like, oh, it's so funny that the Bengals, they say, who was the offensive lineman they brought in? And then he was like, Joe Burrow's got a new bodyguard. I don't remember who that was, but it's hilarious to see. And then Joe Burrow's just on his ass all game long. Something that I did have an epiphany about is the fact that, the offensive line needs to learn how to gel together. So while for some teams that might take a game or two, maybe for the Bengals it takes 4 or 5 games, but I do think the Bengals will eventually bounce back. I really don't think they are this disaster of an organization that seems like they are right now. Plus, they get the Jets this week. So I think Joe Mixon could finish as a top 3 back this week. Again, am I super confident in him doing that? No, but I would rank him easily inside the top 10.
-6-point differential. They're 0-2, the 23rd ranked offense in the NFL. And Joe Mixon still has, like 16 fantasy points per game over 2 weeks? We're going to be just fine. We're going to be just fine. Austin Eckler, too. They're going to be more positive game scripts. And, you can say what you want about how he got saved by the dump-offs at the end, but that was part of the reason it could work for Austin Eckler every single week. Not only does he have the touchdown upside that he showed last year, but he has that negative game script ability when he's on the field, even when the team is, playing from behind and going pass heavy. Let's get to some of these questions as we head into tier 3. Thanks so much for hanging out today. Make sure to like and subscribe. We got 50 people here. Let's hit that like button. And, leaving a chat comment is very helpful for us as well. But if you are able to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, it helps the YouTube algorithms understand what we're all about. It really does help us out. Trying to get some of these questions here. Donnie, half PPR. Pick one for flex. You got Damian Harris. You got Michael Carter or Jahan Dotson. What say you, Nick?
For me, it's pretty obviously Jahan Dotson. I mean, I don't know how he keeps scoring touchdowns. The guy seems pretty touchdown dependent. I believe he has 3 in the first 2 games, which is very high with Carson Wentz. But I like Jahan Dotson. My second best would be Damian Harris, who looks really good. I kind of discredited him in the offseason. I thought, Damian Harris isn't all that. Ramondre Stevens could take over, but Damian Harris is pretty good. But I'd go with Dotson.
It's funny. If you look at points per game, Dotson is the clear choice. If you look at expected fantasy points per game, opportunity value, it's actually Michael Carter.
Makes sense.
I'm going with Dotson as well.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. This is also a game script where the Jets should be down against Cincinnati. They're going to have to dump the ball off more, but I think Dotson's the guy.
All right, let's talk about it for one more second. If you were talking about chances of 10 points, I think you'd probably say Carter or Harris gives you the higher floor, but ceiling is definitely Dotson.
Yeah, Dotson could score you 25 points. I just don't feel like Carter or Harris have that in them. So I would go with Dotson.
Exactly. All right, let's head over to tier 3 where we start to get to some of the more interesting key decisions you need to make at the running back position today. Picked up Keenan Allen off waiver wires. Oh my gosh. Good for you, man.
Yeah.
Rise above anything. That'll work. Okay. Tier 3. Now, if I remember correctly, tier 3 is gigantic for us this week.
Yes.
And I kind of think that this happens every single year, Nick, where there are you're probably in a situation where you have to start these players because you only have 1, maybe 2 of them on your team. But from an actual expectation standpoint, they all kind of group together for us. Some of the projections are a little bit better than others, but you can't tell me David Montgomery's upside is significantly different than players like Gibson, Cordero Patterson, and Sanders at the end of the list, right?
No, I don't feel significantly different about any of these guys except for I like James Conner, Javonte Williams, and Aaron Jones the most out of all these guys. But again, not by a wide margin.
I think Javonte Williams is a hot take where we have him, right? Because we're looking at him in the top 5 in expected fantasy points per game right now. Definitely took a step back in production last week, but Williams definitely looks. Talk about the eye test. He looks good. Swift looks great, but Connor and Jacobs, there's still volume plays that are going to look good for us in our historical data-based projections every single week.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that what Aaron Rodgers said, did you watch the Pat McAfee show? I don't know. You probably don't have time to sit there and watch a whole hour-long show with Aaron Rodgers, but I saw a clip where he said, we need to give 33 and 28 the ball. 33 is Jones, 28 is Dillon. And he said, in his perfect world, they each get 30 touches total a game, so 15 and 15. Not 30 each. That'd be crazy. Yeah, 15 and 15.
That's the whole game?
Yeah, 60 carries. They don't even throw the ball once. Rodgers is off the ayahuasca when he said that. But I think that Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are going to flip-flop like what Aaron Rodgers said. He said, some games the script goes to Jones. Some games it goes to Dillon. In a perfect world, I want to give them both the ball. But that's just how things go. So like last week, we see the big Jones game. The week prior, the big Dillon game. This week, it could be either of them, or they could both finish back-to-back in the rankings. I still feel very comfortable playing both of them because of the upside they have.
Yeah, man. Dylan's a tough start this week against a tough Tampa Bay defense. That game total, according to Vegas, 41.5, third lowest on the
Yeah.
slate. Implied total for the Packers right now, 19.5 points. Insane. This is a tough one. I'm personally starting Javonte Williams over David Montgomery. You asking me my personal ranks? That's where I'm going. Javonte first. What do you think? This is, again, these are Stokastic projections converted to rankings, but again, we're grouping them into tiers because they're really, really similar in terms of expectation, floor and ceiling. Personally, I'm going Williams. How about you?
Yeah, I'd go Williams. It seems like everything's gone wrong for the Broncos whenever Javonte Williams has a chance to score. But eventually the pendulum's going to swing and he'll play better. So I'm definitely starting Javonte.
I agree. This is an interesting one from Shell Bell. Should I drop Madison for Irv Smith Jr.? Standard scoring. I have Kelsey. Well, first of all, you have Kelsey. You probably don't necessarily need a backup tight end if it's just a start one tight end league. Dobbins and Hunt and Khalil Herbert isn't a bad situation for bench running backs. Personally, I'm probably holding Madison.
Yeah, so would I. I mean, I don't think you really need anyone when you have Kelsey. By the time Kelsey's on his bye week again, in my head, I have no idea what that bye week is. I might have known if you asked in August, but right now I have no idea. By the time you get there, maybe Irv Smith isn't available, but there's a chance that, for instance, a Tyler Conklin like player is available who, again, you might not, oh, I'm not super excited to start him, but that gets targets. Hayden Hurst might be available by then. So I wouldn't really panic and just pick up someone because there's a chance that at any point in the season, what happens if David Montgomery goes down? Then you might have a gem in Khalil Herbert. Again, I'm not rooting for injuries or anything, but that's just kind of my thought process on things.
And it is hard to quantify the value of players like Madison, Shell Bell, because Madison doesn't have any starter capability when Dalvin Cook is playing, but he averages 21 fantasy points per game when Dalvin Cook isn't on the field. And so
Yeah.
he's one of the most valuable pieces in fantasy football when one thing happens. So we still got to hold him. I think that's it's tough because he again, kind of clogs up a roster spot, but I would still try to hold on to Madison if you can. Drafted Tua and Lamar with Hurts starting. Just traded Tua for Swift and Lamar for Taylor.
Wow.
In a 10-team PPR league, you probably did the right thing. You did the right thing. Now, Tua doesn't have the same upside as Lamar and Hurts weekly, but I think this is how you play it in a 10-team league. Very interesting, Mark Lattimore.
Yeah, Tua, offensive player of the week. Shout out to my boy Tua. But yeah, I think it's crazy that you drafted 3 quarterbacks, if I'm being honest with you, especially having Lamar Hurts on the same team. I think that's a little crazy, but it worked. So congratulations.
Mark, I'll say this. Your league mates, if you play with them for multiple years, are not going to let this fly every year. Because as I've seen leagues evolve over the years, the quarterback hoarder in your league is one that league mates will start to punish. Not to say that every league is the same, but when you draft 3 quarterbacks in a 10-team, 1-quarterback league, you're actually leaving value on the table at the draft. Now, you turned it into fantastic running backs right now, so you did great in this one league sample. But just be careful using this strategy throughout your fantasy football life. Just letting you know there. Anything else about this tier 2 or tier 3? Excuse me. We can move to tier 4 where we have more question marks than answers, I would say.
Yeah, real quick, I wanted to talk about Cordell Patterson. I understand that Cordell Patterson didn't have that great of a game in week 2, but again, I'm going to attribute it tough matchup up against the Rams defense. I know the Rams got rolled up and smoked by the Bills, but the Rams defense is legit. I think Cordell Patterson, one bad game doesn't scare me. I still think he has top 12 running back potential, and I'm not selling him. Like, people will be like, oh, he had one good game. Again, we're in week fucking 3. I'm not panicking at all. So don't panic off of Cordell Patterson. Shout out to all 69 people watch right now. Nice.
Pretty nice. Pretty nice amount of people. And hey, Atlanta has averaged 26.5 points per game as an offense. I realize in the standings it's 0-2. It's, same as Carolina. It doesn't look great, but this offense looks different. And Cordell Patterson, again, eye test situation, looks different as well. I'm starting him with confidence. Little shout out here. This is an interesting spelling of my last name, but I'll take it. Love you. When is the matchup show with you and Laffy? honestly, the show I put the most blood, sweat, and tears into every single week is Thursday at 11 a.m. It is a DFS focused show, guys, but it goes through every single fantasy relevant player on the entire Sunday slate in less than 2 hours. If there is one show to get you ready for DFS, even if you're just entering 1 to 5, maybe 20 lineups a week, I really believe that matchup show, the marathon matchup show with me and Dave Laughlin over on the Stokastic DFS channel is the one place to be. I always post the link for that channel and for that show specifically on Thursdays. But if you want to head over to the Stokastic DFS channel, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. You'll, of course, get notified. We got tons of stuff over there, and we got a free trial over at stokastic.com. Every single premium tool we've got for 3 days, absolutely free if you're a new user. So great show, great stuff over there. And thanks so much, Josh. You said you'll be there. I really appreciate that a lot. It means a lot to me. All right. You ready to head to tier 4?
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. Scooby.
Oh, there's still more tier 3 guys. We forgot.
Yeah, I thought we were missing some. And Najee Harris here, it hurts. But Clyde is the one where I feel like if you put him at like 13, 14, I wouldn't fault you.
No, neither would I. I really like Clyde Edwards-Helaire a lot. I was a guy that was banging the drum for him all offseason. It seems like he's in a really good spot here with the Chiefs. Obviously, they want to use other running backs, right? They're going to use Jerick McKinnon. Pacheco is going to tag in, but hey, I'm still very confident with Helaire, and I would have him ranked significantly higher than 22.
Yep. I mean, in terms of points per game, he's way up there. I think he's 6th in the NFL in points per game. But again, this is where opportunity really helps you. Volume, understanding, it really helps you. His 8.8 expected fantasy points per game, that's in line with Tony Pollard, Travis Etienne, a little ahead of James Conner, Ezekiel Elliott, players he's way outperforming. And obviously, he may continue to do that. But that's why we pump the brakes just a little bit. Still an RB2, absolutely, but he may not perform every single week like an RB1. Anthony Barrett, hey man, thanks for the super chat. We also did quarterbacks yesterday. You definitely want to check out that stream, but we pay attention to super chats over here. We're very thankful for that, so we'll answer your question. Start Russell Wilson, Wentz, or Goff this week, Nick?
Alrighty. Start Russell. All right, sorry, I was trying to tweet out our stream because I didn't get the automatic streams or the automatic tweets. I was trying to tweet it out. Russell Wilson, Wentz, or Goff. I would stick with Russell Wilson. If I'm being honest with you, I understand Russell Wilson has been disappointing, and I think that he has been. But I think for me, it's between Russell Wilson and Wentz, and they are pretty close in my mind. I would have Russell Wilson around quarterback 9, 10. And then Wentz around quarterback 13, 14, 15. In that kind of a range. I haven't done my quarterback rankings yet. I'm just speaking in general. I would go with Russ, but if you look, I'm going to be honest with you. If you want to be safe, you could play Wentz, but I would personally lean with Russ. The matchup is a little bit concerning up against the Niners, but eventually the Broncos have to turn it on, right? Eventually they have to start playing better. I don't know. You know what? Let's go with Russ, but I'm also confident in Wentz.
I don't know, man. Russ is fine, but playing San Francisco, that defense is tough. Wentz is playing a tough defense in Philadelphia this week. That Philadelphia defense looked good. But I think, exactly like Ron is saying here, I think Wentz could find himself in shootouts week after week. The Stokastic projections actually have Wentz slightly ahead of Wilson, who is slightly ahead of Goff. Goff, in terms of pure matchup, is actually the best of the three, even though in projections he comes out the worst because it's a 53-point total. Playing the Minnesota defense, they don't scare me at all. They're going to look better than they did against Philly, but they don't scare me at all. If it ends up with Goff being the highest scorer, it makes sense to me. But the safest play, actually, in my opinion, Anthony, it's Wentz. I can't believe it. It's Wentz.
Yeah, I agree. Wentz is safer. So let's just go with Wentz. We'll agree here. I like Wentz as well. I just have Russ ranked slightly ahead, but I would go. We'll go Wentz. I think Goff is also interesting, but he's not in that same realm for me. Goff's a fine pick up and start, but he's not a guy that I'm forcing into the lineup over Wentz or Russ. So let's go with Wentz here. We'll go Wentz.
Okay. I mean, look, come back to us in 2 weeks. I think we might be saying you got to start Goff. I can't. Fantasy football's weird, guys. Fantasy football's weird. Let's head to tier 4. Thanks so much for hanging out. We got 93 in here, and look at all these running backs. Some of them we had higher hopes for earlier in the season. Some of them are kind of moving their way up. The ones that kind of hurt to see where they are: Rashad Penny, Devin Singletary, Chase Edmonds. None of these players are players I feel like I can trust right now, but if I had to flex them and I didn't have any strong wide receiver options, I wouldn't feel terrible either. Anybody stick out in this tier as way too low for you? And then maybe someone who's way too high?
Yeah, Kareem Hunt and James Robinson are way too low. I said last week this is the last ride for Travis Etienne. I'm going to give Etienne one more chance, and if he fucks it up, he's done. He screwed it up. I'm putting him in giving him a nice swirly in the toilet right now. I'm done with ETN. I liked him earlier in the offseason. Then James Robinson was coming back, and I started to panic. I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe Robinson's going to come back and be good, but it would make no sense, right? Coming off that injury so late in the season, whatever. Robinson won't be good for the first couple of weeks. No, I was completely wrong. The guy's dominant, just like he's always been. James Robinson way higher than 28 for me. Same with Kareem Hunt. There's going to be game scripts where Kareem Hunt kind of gets a little bit more phased out, like up against the Jets, where you're winning by 1,000,000 points. Who needs Kareem Hunt? And then you fucking lose. You lose. But that's obviously not what they thought was going to happen. And another player that I think is slightly too low is Darrell Henderson. I understand Cam Akers did look better in week 2. I'm still more confident in Henderson. Henderson was the guy on the goal line when they had to score. I think Henderson is still in better terms with the team than Akers, but like I said last week, it is entirely possible that at some point Akers just takes back over and is the guy, which is why I advocated to everyone, don't just drop Akers after one bad game. I'll keep going. I'm on a roll right here. Devin Singletary, I'm done. Sorry, Devin Singletary, pal. It's not your fault. They just don't need to run the ball. They just keep throwing the ball. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that they're up by 5,000. They step on the opponent's throat and they destroy them. It's like when Jay Cutler got kicked during Bounty Gate by that Saints defensive player and he couldn't talk anymore because he got kicked. That's what it feels like when I start Devin Singletary. It's awful. Same thing goes with my guy, Chase Edmonds. It seems like it's Raheem Mostert's season. I don't want to be starting him either.
We're seeing this pretty much the same way. Still think Devin Singletary will be involved in game scripts that are a lot closer for the Bills, and eventually they'll be in a close game script. But running back 51 in opportunity value, which is just behind Rashad Penny. Expected fantasy points per game, Rashad Penny is in the unstartable range. And Ezekiel Elliott's not far ahead. He's running back 39 in that same metric. Some players who look much better in that metric, you kind of mentioned it. Kareem Hunt, running back 17 in expected fantasy points per game. James Robinson, running back 10 in expected fantasy points per game. Darrell Henderson, surprisingly right at positional rank at expected fantasy points per game.
Yeah.
There are situations where I want to start all of these players, and if I have somebody better, including flex wide receivers, I kind of hope I can get there after Darrell Henderson. Right when you hit 30, I'm hoping that I have something better. Nick Green asked, best flex option in a 12-team PPR, Penny, Edmonds, and then we got Judy, Juju, and Landry. I think honestly the best start there right now is Juju on a week-to-week basis, but you're playing the matchups here with these 5 for sure. You're going to be mixing and matching.
Yeah, I don't think Judy's going to play based on what I read. I could be wrong. And I also read a fantasy doctor that said that based on the injury Judy has, it's very likely that the week he comes back, he's kind of thinking too much about the injury, and that will affect his play. After that week, it will not anymore, right? He's going to be perfectly fine, but it could be a mental thing. So even if Judy plays, I'd be a little bit worried. I'd fire up Juju. Obviously, week 1 gets a lot of targets. Week 2, the game was on Amazon. He's used to TikTok, so he did not play very well. But I think Juju will have a bigger week in week number 3. So I'd go Juju.
The game was on Amazon. He's more used to TikTok. Get out of here with this stuff. My gosh.
True. He's the king of TikTok.
Yeah, Zoomer. All right.
Corvette.
James Robinson a matchup issue because he's been better than Zeke so far this season? Not just your opinion. He's been better than Zeke so far this season.
Yeah, I'm done with Zeke.
Yeah, running back 12 in rushing yards so far, James Robinson. Running back 6 in red zone touches. Running back 6 in total carries. What a dude. Back from an Achilles in 8 months. How can you not root for that guy?
Yeah. I like James Robinson a lot. I liked him in the offseason. He's better than Zeke right now. This Dallas offense is confusing. Like, I honestly don't understand why Pollard isn't the starting running back, if I'm being honest with you. But the team continues. Jerry Jones, Zeke's the guy. Mike McCarthy, the Kool-Aid man. Zeke's the guy. So you know what? We're just gonna stick with Zeke being the guy, but I'm not starting him. I'd rather have James Robinson by a mile.
Yep. I can't believe it. Donnie Bravo, don't worry about week 8 just yet. We got a lot of football before then. A lot of things we don't know. A lot of things we're gonna figure out along the way. Don't worry about your week 8 Kelsey bye starter until week 6. I think is probably safe. You can start looking around the corner of the week 5-6 turn, but it's too early right now.
Yeah.
Scooby is 0-2 with Swift and Eckler. Darn, sorry, man. Wide receivers are weak. Do I trade Eckler for Hunt and Debo?
Yes.
Honestly, that seems like an interesting trade to me. I think at an 0-2 start and you need to make a move, Eckler is good, but Swift is overperforming and Hunt looks strong and Debo's a great player who is in line for a significant boost in workload and just value because of Garoppolo going forward.
Yeah, I would do that. Hunt and Debo for Eckler. You know what's funny? In my leagues, I'm either 2-0 or 0-2. I don't have a single team that's 1-1. It's very funny. It's
Really?
like either my teams are just they're not even disasters, like they deal with injuries or things, or the team is just amazing. Like in our work league, you're in first, I'm in second. We're both 2-0. I think we're the only 2-0 teams.
That's how we
Suck it,
roll right
Brody.
there. Yeah.
I beat Brody by 1 point because they benched Stephon Diggs, so that was great. All
No.
good.
Oh, he must not have looked. Also, shout out to Brody Benz, man. He has totally transformed these thumbnails on the Stokastic Fantasy Football channel and on the Notorious channel. I hope you see this, Brody, because you are kicking ass at the thumbnail game. We appreciate you, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing this trade. I definitely am. Okay, I want to get here real quick. And I do want to hit tier 5. Obviously, the tier 5 is where you're like not really in a position where you should be starting them unless it's like a 16 team league. Are there more tier 4 running backs? Just in case there are, let's hit those up.
Yeah, there are more, and then I stopped making the graphic after 39 because I was like,
I
oh,
think
it's too many.
that is reasonable, my friend. No PPR, standard league. Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, or Wilson. I can't think of which Wilson you mean off the top of my
Garrett, I
head.
would
Wilson.
assume.
Or
Garrett,
Garrett
maybe?
Wilson. See, this is why you got to be important. I'm assuming it's Garrett. I think that's a better assumption. Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, I would go
Samuel.
with Samuel.
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't know you were talking. I talked right over you.
No, hit the people with your take. Absolutely.
Yeah, so the reason why I would go with Samuel in a non PPR league, Samuel has some rushing upside baked in, and Samuel just seems like the safest play every week. Look, Dotson is really good, but Dotson has scored 3 touchdowns. That's why his numbers are so high. I think now maybe Wentz is just the second coming of Jesus Christ, right? And he keeps throwing a million touchdowns, but I don't think that's really the case. So I would definitely rather go with Curtis Samuel, who I think is more reliable on a week in, week out standpoint. If you didn't want to go with Samuel, I think Garrett Wilson is also acceptable. I'm slightly worried about the fact that once Zach Wilson, the MILF Hunter, returns, that Garrett Wilson could not be as good. But right now, under cool Joe Flacco, I like Wilson. But I'd go Curtis Samuel, then Wilson, Pierce, then Dotson. I think Pierce is on for better days coming soon. He starts getting the ball more. They're going to keep ramping it up. The reason why people are pissed off at him is because you drafted him in the 5th round. That's why, because you can't use him right now. But in a couple of weeks, he's a rookie. Wait, cool down. You're waiting for Breece Hall. You can also wait for Dameon Pierce.
Fair enough. I agree with everything you just said. Nick Green also asked, any RB you would recommend buying low? I'm still in on Leonard Fournette. If you can
great.
get Fournette cheap, I still think that offense is going to find a way. Obviously, they're 2-0, even with their offense playing really poorly. And in expected fantasy points per game, again, that's an opportunity value metric. He's running back 5 right now. He's
Yeah,
going to find
I
himself
completely.
a lot of positive game scripts as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I think you could also buy low potentially on Javonte Williams if people are panicking. Like, oh, now again, it really depends on your league mates because I see trades all the time on Twitter. People send me, and I'm like, who the fuck are you playing in this league with? Like, how are you getting these kind of trade offers? And then I remember that not everyone plays in leagues with people who just sit here caring about fantasy all day, like my friends do. So that makes sense. I also kind of like. There's another running back. I think you can buy low right now on Dameon Pierce, like because people are just panicking on him.
Okay.
Again, I wouldn't trade a crazy haul for Dameon Pierce. because also there's a chance maybe the Texans just don't fully commit to him, and maybe he's just not really good, right? Maybe he doesn't have the juice like Davis Mills was saying. But I do think Dameon Pierce is a buy low candidate. Zeke is not a buy low candidate though. That guy stinks.
I'd rather try to get Tony Pollard. I know he had the long touchdown, which means his value's increased, but
Yeah.
I agree with you. Not a buy low player at all. And as we get the rest of the running back brigade open, the running back 5 and 6, where you show that full list, I appreciate you doing that every single week, Nick. Do want to say that it is a great time if you are 0-2, you're feeling down about your fantasy football team. Check out Underdog Fantasy. You see the banner at the top of your screen there. They've got an awesome tournament, the Best Ball Resurrection Tournament. It starts in week 6, goes to week 17. So if all your best ball teams from the summer are dust and your fantasy teams are dust, which we're going to help you out all the way through, don't lose the faith. But it is an awesome time to get in over there. And promo code Stokastic gets you a first match deposit bonus up to $100. Get free money in fantasy football. It's hard to do except for when you're signing up. So take advantage. Use that promo code Stokastic, Stokastic. A really awesome platform over there. And we're very thankful for the friendship we've got with Underdog Fantasy this year.
Yeah,
okay, the
wait,
full running back tier list. It's a little bit small, but I think in tier 5, some of the interesting options that I'm seeing and sad about, Travis Etienne. You said you're done with him. Hopefully he can get higher than running back 42 soon. J.K. Dobbins, I'm almost positive we'll see higher than running back 42 soon. And then there are a lot of JKs and JDs in there as well. It's a lot of people who you could see the upside in August, but now currently in week 3, I don't see it that much. Cam Akers the one that hurts. He's like at 2.1 yards per carry since coming back from the Achilles. You just can't trust it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Someone in the chat mentioned Kurt Meister, what a name that is, said you have Brees Hall too low. It's only been 2 weeks. Yeah, it has only been 2 weeks. Brees Hall might be running back 7 on the rankings 5 weeks from now. But right now, where we're sitting, I don't feel very comfortable playing Brees Hall. I think you can start him. He has touchdown upside. Maybe he is just the Nick Chubb from his rookie year, right? Where he gets limited touches, scores touchdowns, then eventually the team has to play him. Who was ahead of him his rookie year? Was it Isaiah Crowell?
Carlos Hyde.
Carlos Hyde. Okay, I said Isaiah Crowell in yesterday's video, so it was that's funny. Carlos Hyde. That he scored on the Jets. Was he the one who scored on the Jets and wiped his ass, or was that Crowell? I don't remember.
I think that's Crowell because Crowell was a Jet as well. Yeah, good players find their way through even in crowded backfields. I saw a question here from Richie. How much longer do I hold ETN? This is hard because he's a first round running back. He is a player who is going to get all the opportunities in the world. And if James Robinson were to go down, I mean, he'd have that backfield entirely to himself. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the way you want to look at it, I think ETN is one of those players who needs to be on a roster all season long.
Yeah, I agree. I would hold ETN. I'm not panicking just yet. And I wanted to mention before, the league that I'm 0-2 in right now, our Superflex league with my friends, if I come in dead last, I'm in 11th right now. My team is down astronomical. We scored like 90 points last week because Mike Evans and Tom Brady scored like 7 total points. If I come in last, I have to run a mile. And every time I run around the our high school that I went to, I'm not still in high school. I know some of you guys might be shocked. Every time you run around and do a lap, you have to eat a Big Mac. So I have to eat 4 Big Macs while running around. I'm definitely going to throw up. That will be on the channel, I think. Maybe not, though, because it's disgusting. Maybe they won't let me post it, but it will probably be very funny if I come in dead last. So something to look forward to for you guys.
Oh, if this happens, we need to – the people need this.
Yeah, it's going to be
not
hard to do.
If it is a question of when. Absolutely. This is awesome, guys. We got just a few minutes left. Get your final questions in here. And of course, as we were talking with Nick during the chat, is the week 3 wide receiver video tomorrow? Nick, when is it? Tell the people.
Tomorrow at 10 a.m. We stream Tuesday through Friday. Tomorrow Thursday?
Yes, sir.
This is the problem with just not doing anything in real life. You know, you just forget what day it is. Today is Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. So we have the 10 a.m. stream. talking about receivers, and then I will be live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, this is all Eastern Standard Time, normal people time. We're talking here. And then I will be live at 7 before the games talking about, or before the game on Thursday Night Football. And when I say normal people time, it's more of a joke because there's people that watch these streams from everywhere. I got a comment last night on my video, greetings from Germany. So people watch from all around the world.
Oh man, we appreciate you guys. No matter where you are in the world, East Coast, West Coast, Europe, we're happy you're here. Kamara tier 6 because of the injury, absolutely. If he's starting and getting a full workload, he's probably tier 3 in that big hunking mass from running back 10 to running back 22, 23. How about you?
Yeah, I completely agree. That's why he has the 3 asterisks or the 2 asterisks. Same with Mark Ingram, right? If Mark Ingram is the guy, I think up against Carolina, you can talk yourself into moving him up past where he's at right now at 36. Again, everything I have read seems a little bit more negative towards Kamara. Now, again, I'm not a doctor, never claimed to be a doctor, but what I've read is that maybe he misses this week and could miss next week. We'll know more as the week goes on, but right now, if it was best bet in my head, I'd say Kamara misses.
Unfortunately, feel the same way. Esoteric Dragon, we see you in the chat. What's up, man? Played Henderson at flex last week. This week, I'm leaning wide receiver for flex. Henderson, Hunt, Cooks, Bateman, and Samuel are my options. So you have a good set of options. And one thing that is tough is that when you have several good players, it's hard to decide. I actually do think you're right on with Bateman. I also think Cooks is a really solid option as well. One thing we should mention, too, is that in terms of choosing a flex, the wide receiver position is really outscoring the mid-tier running back position in a way that we haven't seen in a couple of years. Again, 2-week sample size, could be some variance, but in general, if you're looking for a flex and you've got equal options at running back and wide receiver, I'm leaning wide receiver more than I thought. How about you, Nick?
Yeah, I'm definitely leaning receiver. I was wrong on my boy Rashad Master Bateman last week. I thought that Bateman, oh, he's going up against X. Oh, man, this is going to be a tough matchup. And then he just torches my dreams. We still won the game, though, so it is what it is. But Bateman looks amazing. The guy's incredibly talented. He's what I thought he was in the offseason. I'm very excited about him. And I completely agree with you. At the flex, most of the time, unless I went robust running back, which probably didn't work this year, right? So far, again, the season's
Just
not
so
over,
far.
but
Yeah, just
your
yet.
team's looking down bad if you went robust, especially if you have like Dalvin Cook and then you drafted like Leonard Fournette and things like that. You drafted Zeke in the 3rd. Your team probably looks awful, but Bateman is in a very good spot. So I would go Bateman heavily over Cooks. Cooks is very safe. He's just a safety net you throw on your roster, whereas Bateman has that true upside to score like 35 points.
You said it. All right, final question. Dominic, Edmonds or Stevenson this week? New England 3-point underdogs. That means Stevenson probably has some pass catching upside. I'm still leaning. Oh, man, they're playing the Bills. I think Stevenson by a nose.
I'd go Edmonds because the Dolphins are going to have to throw. There's not going to be much running that's going to happen in this game. I know Mostert looked good last week, but look, at the end of the day, if I have to pick one or the other, I'd go Edmonds. I just don't trust Stevenson, even though he's the only healthy running back on that team. Sorry, I just smacked my desk. It just does not seem like they want to give him the ball.
I think you're right. I think Edmonds is closer to quote unquote a starting running back, but they use Mostert a whole lot to the point where I'm nervous. I'm not nervous about how you guys are hanging out with us. Thank you so much, guys. It really means a lot. And our 45 minutes are up today. We're talking running backs, but we will be back. If you have more running back questions, join us. Obviously, tomorrow we're talking wide receivers, but on Friday, we've got a whole flex start sit. Once again, we go through these rankings, the updates to the rankings, and we answer all of your toughest start sit questions. Also, Nick, as you mentioned, he's there before Thursday Night Football, again before the Sunday main slate. So we have got you covered over on the Stokastic Fantasy Football and, of course, on Nick's solo channel, Notorious Fantasy by Stokastic. Make sure to follow him over there. Make sure to follow him at Notorious FNTSY on Twitter. And I'm at Draftaholic. You can follow me as well. Any final words for the people? Tell them what to do, where to leave the comments too, Nick.
Yeah, make sure you guys hit the like button. That really helps us a ton. I'm going to put the banner up real quick. Hit the like button before you leave.
Yeah.
Also, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and go ahead and leave a comment, not in the chat, because I'm not going to be able to see it. I don't think I can even answer that after the stream ends. But if you leave it in the comment section, I always go in and try to answer as many as possible. Now, there are videos on my channel and on here that get like 200 comments. very hard to answer every comment in that scenario, but I do try my best, especially on Sunday before I stream. I just go in there and answer like 5,000 questions and then go on to stream. So I really appreciate you guys. I ordered my Tua Anon shirt. I'm very excited for this weekend, and I'll be wearing it next week once we beat the Bills, baby.
Oh my gosh. Are you even going to show up next week if they beat the Bills? You're just going to be on a bender.
Yeah, I'm gonna be on the
Be
street.
sure to follow this man. He's awesome. As everyone said in the chat, Nick is the GOAT at Notorious FNTSY. I'm happy to be along for the ride. My name is Matt Savoca at Draftaholic. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. talking wide receivers. Until then, for Nick, I'm Matt. We'll see you guys later.
Adios.